The original Mavic Pro from 2017 has been my main and only drone for the past few years, but recently Potato Jet said, hey, here's a free drone to somebody who wants it, and I said, yes please, I will take that drone. And that's pretty much how I ended up with a Mavic Mini. Really what happened was that I just left a comment on one of Potato Jet's videos, and it turns out that that was also the way that you enter a contest to win a drone, and then I got an email saying that I had been randomly selected, and then a few days later this little guy showed up at my front door, so it was awesome. Thank you so much, Potato Jet. If anyone has been questioning the legitimacy of those giveaways, I can definitely attest they are legit, so you should go watch his channel when you're done with this video and all of the videos on my channel. But this has been awesome for a couple of reasons, not the least of which being that this all actually ended up happening on my birthday, which was kind of an awesome birthday gift, but also because the day before I had literally been having an internal debate over whether or not I wanted to spend the money on the Mavic Mini, because I didn't know if it would actually be an upgrade to the original Mavic Pro that I've been using for the past few years. My very first video on this channel is actually about how to get your Part 107 drone license, and when I passed that test, my reward to myself was to buy my first drone of my very own. And so I think this video is gonna end up being a little bit longer than normal. I have a whole list of points that I wanna get through. So to just save you the suspense, my conclusion is that the Mavic Pro, the original Mavic Pro, is a better drone overall, but I will use the Mavic Mini more. And so what that means is I don't know that the Mavic Mini is an upgrade from the original Mavic, but I think it's a great companion or possibly even an update. They share a lot of similar features, and that's how I'm approaching this. There are a lot of reviews about this little drone, but the way I'm approaching it is from the point of view of someone who's been using a drone from 2017, the original Mavic, and now, after not having any of the other drones that have been released in the time between, checking out one of the new ones. And you might be in a similar situation, so this hopefully will be helpful. So why would I say that the original Mavic is a better drone overall? A lot of it, of course, comes down to the camera. The original Mavic is a 4K camera that has all kinds of full, beautiful manual control, frame rates. You can do log profiles, which allow you to color grade. You can get really beautiful results from this camera. And if you're really looking for the best image quality bang for your buck, I think that the Mavic 2 Pro is the way to go. Even though I don't have one, the image quality from that thing is amazing, and it's still kind of the same form factor. And really too, this drone is just really well built. You know, it's a few years old, I've taken it all over the place, and it's held up really well. It's just, it feels like a quality piece of equipment, whereas the Mavic Mini definitely feels a lot lighter and plasticky. But there's a really important reason for that, and we'll get to that in just a few minutes. But just to kind of get back to a few specs, the original Mavic does have front-facing obstacle avoidance sensors. The Mavic Mini looks like it has sensors. It has like the same little eye sockets, but there are actually no sensors. The only sensors on this one are downward facing, which are pretty much the same as on the original Mavic. So there's no obstacle avoidance on this guy. You can just crash it straight into whatever, whereas this one will pretty forcefully come to a stop if it detects an obstacle. And of course, the newer drones have sensors on all the sides, and you know, they're really almost impossible to crash unless you really want to. The range on the original Mavic is also much, much longer. You can fly this 13 kilometers, which is 8 miles. I would never fly this drone that far away. The Mavic Mini can go up to 4 kilometers, which is about 2.5 miles. Even that's pretty far, and technically you're not supposed to fly them out of line of sight, so it's kind of, you probably shouldn't be flying your drones that far away anyway. And as I mentioned earlier, the camera on the original Mavic is a 4K camera, whereas the camera on the Mavic Mini is 2.7K, so they're not quite the same resolution or quality. They're both really good. You can get great results. I think it's easier to get results straight from the Mavic Mini, whereas the Mavic Pro usually requires a little bit of color grading and finesse to really bring out the best image quality. But overall, you know, if you're doing client work or something like that, this is probably going to give you something that's a bit more usable. This, to me, looks like really good cell phone footage. If you have something maybe like an iPhone 10 or an iPhone 11 or something in that range, kind of seems like it's that same quality, which is really, really good, but not the same as, you know, a higher level pro piece of equipment. And the most important technical difference, I think, is that the original Mavic operates on radio frequencies, whereas the Mavic Mini only operates on Wi-Fi. And that's fine, but the Wi-Fi signal is just not as reliable overall as a radio signal. So that is one of the reasons this could fly further, is just because it's easier to maintain that signal. It's a lot more reliable, a lot less prone to interference. Of course, both drones have GPS, and they have return to home settings, so hopefully if you were to lose connection, it would just come straight back to you. So that might be why the original Mavic is a better drone overall, but let's get into why I think I will use the Mavic Mini more and why I really would recommend this either as a first drone or as an addition / upgrade to an older drone. And really it just comes down to the Mini part of it. When the original Mavic came out, compared to the Phantom series style drones that were really popular before it, something this small is kind of amazing. And this really doesn't take up very much space at all. It's about the same as, you know, a DSLR without a lens. However, once you have the controller and the batteries and the charger, it kind of ends up taking up a bit more space. So what I have found is that I really only take this drone with me when I know for sure I'm gonna use it. It's not something I'll just throw in a bag just in case. If I'm bringing this and it's taking up a pretty significant chunk of my luggage or my camera bag or whatever, it's because I know for sure I'm gonna use it. And because even though I have my drone license and I'm really good about following the rules, even when you're flying in totally appropriate areas, sometimes there are people that are just unhappy to see drones. Sometimes they bring up a bit of attention that you don't want. And I've just found myself not flying my drone as much as I would like. And I think part of that is just because of the size and the visibility of this larger drone. And that's really why the Mini is such a strength, because not only is the drone itself mini, I'm sure you've seen lots of photos and videos, and it's just hard to communicate without holding it in person. I mean, here's my like normal size hand. It's really actually about the same size as the remote control when it's folded up. So if you have the two of these things, the remote and the drone, they're pretty much about the same size. The remote of the Mavic Mini is almost identical in size to the original Mavic. So if that's a frame of reference for you, I think that's an important one. And even the batteries though, I was lucky enough to get the Fly More combo, which has 3 batteries and this really cool multi-battery charger. But this is it, this is the whole charger. It plugs into a USB cord and that's it. So if you need to fly with your entire kit, you just have this stuff right here. And for me, I made a video about this camera bag, and it's really kind of my main like day-to-day camera bag that's not for giant trips. It's very easy to just take the controller, fit it into the little side mesh pockets of the bag. The drone itself fits in a pocket on the other side, and then the batteries can actually just go in this little tablet pocket back here, and that's it. Now I have my entire drone kit in the bag ready to go, and literally it's not taking up any of the space that would go towards cameras or other gear or you know, sweaters, snacks, any of those things. And that's why I think the Mavic Mini is so powerful, because it's one of those things you can just keep in your bag just in case, which when it comes to photo and video can sometimes be a lifesaver. It's like my GoPro. There have been so many times where I throw it in the bag and I don't end up using it, but because it's so small, who cares? It doesn't take up any space. There have been so many times where I wasn't planning to use my GoPro, but I was really glad that I had it because something popped up where it was perfect. And I think now that this drone is that easy to carry means that it is so much easier to just have with you, and therefore you can use it more. Even if you don't want to keep it in your regular camera bag, the little case that it comes with, everything fits in here really easily, and then that's it. This actually even fits in the top of my backpack. So I've done that before too. So it's very easy to travel with. The whole case for this drone isn't really that much different in size compared to the entire original Mavic. And again, this is not a big drone, which is why like the Mavic Mini is just insane. I love this thing. It's so much fun. It's got me like excited about drones again in a way that I haven't been for a while. And when it comes to flying more often, that is really where the weight of the Mavic Mini comes into play. I mentioned earlier that it's not as robust as the original Mavic and that was on purpose, and I'm sure you know by now, but there is a very big reason why DJI went out of their way to make sure that it's real obvious this thing weighs 249 grams. There's also some misconceptions about that. So drones that weigh 250 grams or more are required to be registered with the FAA. If they're under 250 grams, they're basically just considered toys and you don't need to register them. So that means you just have a little more flexibility in how to use your drone, where to fly your drone. DJI has been promoting the weight as a huge safety feature. Even on their website and some of their materials, it says things like you're flying safer just by flying lighter. So the fact that this drone is so lightweight means that even if it does run into something or drop on something, it's not gonna cause a ton of damage. I would much rather have this fall on me than this, although the propellers still spin, you know, really fast, and I don't really want to have those cut my face up. So it's still dangerous and it requires a lot of safety and precautions. One of my concerns is that with drones being so light and so accessible that people might start flying them more dangerously. And of course, I kind of think, just personal opinion, that 250 gram rule might be updated in the future if too many drones come out that are under it and cause issues because people aren't using them responsibly. Having gone through the process to get a commercial drone license, you really learn about why it's important to fly these things safely. So a lot of times, even with something like this, it's not about, oh, I could fly it here. It really is like, should I fly it here? Is it the safest thing to do? Is it the most responsible thing to do? There's still obviously private land rules. There's things like national parks, anywhere that really says no drones. It doesn't matter how small or big the drone is, you just can't fly the drone there. And if you're using your drone commercially, even the tiny Mavic Mini, you do still need your Part 107 certification. Commercial drone use has nothing to do with the drone that you're using. It's all about how you're using the footage that you film. So commercial use is almost everything that's not just like putting the footage on your phone to show your friends randomly. If you put the footage in a YouTube video that has an ad and that ad earns income, that's commercial use. If somebody says, hey, take a photo real quick and we'll buy you dinner afterwards, technically that's commercial use. Commercial use covers almost all instances of drone footage other than like pure hobby and recreation. So just remember, there are still rules to follow and there are still regulations that exist even for super tiny little drones like this. But let's move away from regulations and get into some of the other stuff that's really awesome about this drone. Obviously the size is a huge benefit. Once it is fully opened up, it's actually a decent sized little drone. Again, that size and weight difference really does become apparent once the drones are fully unfolded and extended. And there are a lot of drone companies out there, but DJI has always been one of my favorites because I feel like their R&D department can't be beat. They just do stuff that is amazing. With the original Mavic, I got the Fly More combo, which cost like $1,200 at the time. It came with the drone and 3 batteries and this really cool charger that lets you connect multiple batteries all at the same time. And then it will charge the battery in sequence from the most charged battery to the least charged one. So you're gonna end up with a fully charged battery as fast as possible. They also had these little connectors that you can put on the end of the drone battery, and now it's a USB charging bank. It's pretty cool. Like they really understood how people were using these tools and they developed them with that in mind. The charger itself, you plug it into the wall and then you can plug in the battery charger, but there's another USB port that actually lets you charge your phone. So you could charge your entire setup since you're probably using your phone to control the drone or at least preview the image. You could charge everything with one system. And I thought that was really cool. It does take up a lot of space. It's not always the easiest thing to travel with, but just the ideas behind it were amazing. And not having used a new drone in a few years, they've only gotten better and better at that kind of thing. So with the Mavic Mini, Like I mentioned, this charger for the batteries is way more compact and takes up no space. You can use this as a charger when the batteries are in it. There's a USB port. You can just plug other devices into it and charge them straight from there. The remote control itself is a little more basic than the original Mavic. The original Mavic has sort of a more robust feel. It has this front display that gives you all the critical flight information. It has 2 rear buttons and then 2 dials on the back, along with then your record and your camera button. It's got a joystick and some other, I honestly don't know what this is. It's a pause button on the front. And then it opens up and you can fit your phone right in here and fly your drone. The Mavic Mini controller is a bit more plasticky and lightweight. It has no screen on the front. It just has status lights to show you the charge of the battery. It opens up the same way to accommodate a smartphone. It's got the same 2 antennas. It has a record button and a camera switch button. It doesn't have the same buttons on the back that the original controller had, and it only has 1 dial which controls the camera's gimbal, as opposed to 2 dials. This you could control the camera's gimbal and some of the camera settings. So it's a little bit different. You definitely lost a few features and a little bit of functionality, but overall it works great. It also has one of my favorite features. So traveling with this controller, because of these joysticks, can sometimes be a little tricky. And I've actually had to use this little plastic thingy I got on Amazon to just protect them when it's in your bag from getting moved or knocked or broken off. DJI recognized that, and I think they've been doing this on a few drone models for a while, but I haven't used it yet. Clipped inside of the remote are the joystick knobs. So they're there, you use it just like normal. Then when you're done, you just undo these, clip them right inside, and then when you're ready to pack up the controller into your bag, it's flat on the top and you're not gonna damage the controller or the joysticks if something bumps up against them or pushes them. It's amazing. And it just shows one of my favorite things about DJI, which is they just continually improve and make things better and better and better. And also, this is like, I know I got it for free because I'm just a super lucky guy, but it's a $400 kit. You know, this kit was $1,200 a few years ago. The image quality is very comparable and the performance is great. This actually has a longer flight time. It's got up to 30 minutes. So with all 3 of these batteries, that's 90 minutes of flight time if you need it. I've never wanted to fly a drone for 90 minutes all at once, ever. This also has a top speed of 40 miles an hour. And once you click it into sport mode, it's real fun. It goes, it's a fast little drone. You can also put it into like the cinematic mode, which a lot of drones have had, and that keeps the motion a little smoother and a little more control, but sport mode is great. And it's really easy, just straight from your phone while it's on the controller, to switch this into FPV mode, which means that the camera, since this has a 3-axis gimbal, just like the original one, it means the camera will move with the drone, which just kind of gives you those really cool, like, first-person point of view flight shots, instead of just keeping everything totally level. I need a lot of practice with it, because when I've been using it, it's been a little, like, jumpy and jittery. But it is really fun, and it's gonna open up a lot of opportunities for creativity. And then of course you can switch back into regular, you know, stabilizer mode, where it just kind of follows the direction of the drone and keeps everything nice and smooth. And finally, there are a few other points to bring up which you may or may not think are good. It kind of depends on where you're coming from. I think that they're great. Others may not. One of them is that this drone comes with DJI's geofencing 2.0 like updates, which basically just mean even if you wanted to try to fly the drone into an area that's restricted, its GPS won't let it. And I think that's a good thing. I think that prevents people from doing a lot of dumb stuff. And I think that ends up protecting us all in the long run. It also has something which I hadn't heard anyone talk about until I was reading through the press materials from DJI after I got this, which is something called aeroscope capability. And aeroscope is a separate system that can be installed at like huge event venues. So, you know, if you're at like Coachella or a football game or, you know, a political event or something huge like that, they can set up this aeroscope system and it will automatically track every drone that's flying in that area. It will show the drone, it will show the drone's serial number, and it will also track the controller. So if a drone comes in out of nowhere and they don't know who's flying it, it will show the location of that drone's controller where the pilot is. And that sounds kind of scary and very, Cyberdyne Big Brothery. But this isn't a system that's in place like coast to coast. This is something that has to be set up. Usually it's set up one-off for events. So it doesn't mean that you're being tracked every time you're using the drone. It just means if you're near somewhere, an event, a venue, whatever, that has this system operating at that time, that they will definitely see your drone, your serial number, and your location with the remote control, which again, I think overall, in a world where people do dumb things, I think that that's a good thing, but it does sound a little scary, and I think at first glance, a lot of people might be turned off by the idea. The old drones aren't compatible with it. The newer ones all have that aeroscope compatibility built into them. At least the DJI ones do. So I think that is my entire checklist. I know this is a bit longer than normal, but I really wanted to give my perspective because I've been interested in how drones have been developing over the past few years, but just because I haven't been flying mine as much as I would like, I didn't know if it would be worth spending the money on another drone. And even if I hadn't gotten this for free, I do think it's definitely worth the money as an upgrade or an addition to the original Mavic, just because it's going to help me fly my drone more, which is gonna open up a lot more creative options in the future. So I'm excited to use it more. I'm excited to learn more about it. So far, it's been amazing. And I'm super thankful again to Potato Jet for hosting a competition that I accidentally entered and won, which is terrific. If you're interested in learning more about getting your commercial drone license so you can use this footage commercially, I do have my very first video on this channel where I explain how to go about getting your license, and I also have an updated version about how to renew your license every 2 years. That's something I just had to do this past summer. So thanks so much. When you're done with this video, watch one of these or go check out Potato Jet's channel.